Sweet the whispers in your ear whenever ember wanders near.
And I'm not sure if there's going to be any new information regarding what we already know about Bricks and Minifigs, but this could be good for people that need to maybe catch up on it. People that are not wholly informed about Bricks and Minifigs or what the current state of it is. And it's Pegasus. He's always good. So let's take a look at Pegasus's video about, I guess, maybe some latest updates in regards to what's going on with Bricks and Minifigs. So let's go.
Welcome back to a series so federal, even the FBI subscribed in today's video. Massive update to the Bricks and Minifigs Lego scandal. The company is desperately trying to backtrack a bunch of their legal threats against Reckless Ben. According to attorneys, the scheduled hearing on June 30 has been canceled, and the gag order has been lifted, which means Ben is free to release the long-awaited Part 3 video of his investigation. The only restrictions that remain on Ben are things that are already illegal, like stalking and doxing. The case is now about to go federal after Reckless Ben filed a notice of removal in the District Court of Utah. This is going to cause massive pressure on Bricks and Minifigs.
Which, this is big. This is fucking big about going federal with it and filing a notice of removal in Utah, because this was a concern for a lot of people with this entire case, where it was, how basically, American Fork and their PD, were closing ranks, how other jurisdictions were getting involved, and there was a legit concern in regards to, would Ben be able to get a fair trial? Would the courts be fair with Ben in the state of Utah? Because, say, Utah is known for, they tend to close ranks with their own, and with Ben being an outsider, there was a big concern that he would not get a fair case. He would not get a fair judge for any of the cases that he might be bringing up. So the fact that he's able to move this to federal court, that's pretty fucking big, in that he will get a fair hearing. And it'd still be in Utah, it'd be federal court, but it's not a state judge, it's a federal judge. So the way that they're appointed is a little bit, we're talking about different types of appointments. It's not the state that basically elects the judge. If it's a federal case, even in Utah, those are appointed by the federal government, not elected in the state. So better chance of him getting a fair hearing for his case, better opportunities for him to be bringing stuff against Bricks and Minifigs, maybe even the American Fork Police, if we're going to, the whole thing of the American Fork Police working with Bricks and Minifigs may come up. This could get really interesting in this regard.
To settle with Ben outside of court and drop the notice of removal in the District Court of Utah. This is going to cause massive pressure on Bricks and Minifigs to settle with Ben outside of court and drop the case entirely. Turns out
I don't think he will. I think if Bricks and Minifigs tries to settle with Ben outside of court, I don't think he's going to agree to it. I think he's going to go, you know what? You made your bed, now shit in it. Because Ben, I think, has got all of the leverage right now. And I think I have a suspicion that if he can, Ben wants to put this in front of a judge for one very specific reason. If it gets in front of a judge, he can do discovery. It's kind of with the thing with Ethan. You know how people Denham's won her case against Ethan, and they're touting it as a big win. Except the thing is that Ethan was able to get discovery. And I think that is a big factor here with Ben, is if it gets in front of a judge, his lawyers, because he does have a lawyer now, his lawyers can basically ask for discovery in regards to Bricks and Minifigs, and they are going to get all kinds of information, and that is going to be a fucking gold mine. So I don't think he's going to settle, at least until he can get full discovery on Bricks and Minifigs and maybe anyone that's involved with Bricks and Minifigs, and then he will have this treasure trove of information that he can just do all kinds of things with.
It turns out there are much stronger free speech protections at the federal level, and this is great news for Ben. YouTuber Brandon Buckingham has dropped an hour-long video doing a great interview with Reckless Ben going over the situation. Asmongold has responded to Hassan's deranged fantasies, calling him psychosexually obsessed with him. People are trying to cancel Asmongold for his sex life. He has responded absolutely baffled. Subscribe, or you gotta get a job at Bricks and Minifigs.
Hey, God!
Shocked. Now let's begin. Right, welcome back everybody to the Legendary series, where we talk about the most entertaining drama on the internet. So, we got a massive update to the Bricks and Minifigs situation. So, quick recap for people out of the loop. A comically evil company, Bricks and Minifigs, allegedly stole 200k worth of Legos from an old collector guy named Brian Manzel. And basically they had a consignment agreement, but now the Legos are missing. And YouTuber Reckless Ben stepped in, decided to try and get those missing Legos back and get justice for Brian, and he uncovered some seemingly evil characters and massive police corruption, which even got him arrested. Since then, he's made multiple videos exposing them, but he can't even release part 3 or he'll go to jail. They have now sued him, and they even tried to take down his GoFundMe for Brian. Right, so since then, CoffeeZilla also did his investigation into the matter, and he uncovered many more lies about the situation, where they actually lied about a U-Haul being at the store at the night of the takeover, and also the CEO lied about not having access to an important spreadsheet.
Not only that, they also lied about, we've got records of all of these. They also lied about having records of all of the Lego sets that Brian Mansell gave to them. And when Coffee went through a full list of all of the sets that Brian Mansell gave to the store, he could account for like a tiny handful of a ton of these things that they could not account for on their records. The majority of the Lego sets that were given up, that were cataloged when Brian first gave them up. So like, they're just lying about everything. And let's not forget, there was the one with the U-Haul thing. That it's more than just like they lied about the U-Haul. They like when the CFO what the hell's his last name? What was his last name? I can't remember. Like when when Anand's brother, who's the CFO of the company, basically said, "Oh no, Brandon didn't actually go there with with the U-Haul. He went there in a car." And then the next day, and then a Coffee discovered like through the footage, like the security footage, like, nope, that's a U-Haul sitting right there. And then the next day, Anand's coming on camera with Coffee saying, well, actually what happened was he did actually get a U-Haul, not a car, but it was to tow a trailer because the vehicle that he got was not going to be rated to tow a trailer. So he got a U-Haul to tow the trailer, and it was going somewhere else. It had nothing to do with the store in Salem that this whole thing is about. So like, they're doing nonstop lying. And this was just with CoffeeZilla. These guys have been doing interviews with various like YouTuber news and regular news agencies, and they've been doing nothing but lying this entire time. And here's the funny part. All of that footage, I guarantee you Ben's lawyer is getting all of that footage, both of the regular mainstream interviews that they did and the YouTuber interviews that they did, like with CoffeeZilla. That's all going to get entered into evidence in the case against Bricks and Minifigs. So these guys were just nonstop handing Ben and his lawyer more and more evidence of malfeasance by this company. Yeah, Amon McNeff. Yeah, and his brother Matt. Yeah. Like both of them have been doing interviews, and they've just been heaping evidence like evidence upon evidence that Ben can use against them in court. It's fucking hilarious.
The CEO lied about not having access to an important spreadsheet.
This U-Haul that supposedly was driven up to the store the night of the takeover.
If you were to look at the footage, you won't see a U-Haul sitting anywhere in the...
Zoom in on that photo. My gosh. There's a U-Haul in the parking lot.
Y'all gotcha, bitch! Spreadsheet though, yeah? Yeah, but we never got that. That was never sent to us at corporate, by the way. It says salem.or@bricksandminifigs.com. That's you guys.
But y'all definitely have this. Y'all have access to this.
Yep.
Well, I had no idea.
Right, so that
Yeah, he did. Because the way these corporations work when they use like Microsoft Office or Microsoft 365 is they establish a corporate account for the Microsoft 365, which licenses were then disseminated to all of the stores. All of this is connected via cloud service. So when these corporations use Microsoft 365, especially with cloud service, they're purchasing a business license. So the head office basically has any information or any stuff that is done on the local level. Yes, the SharePoint. Exactly, SharePoint. So they have SharePoint, and then anything and any documents or any new documents or spreadsheets that are created at the store level automatically get saved into the cloud via SharePoint, which the corporation has access to at all times. So the fact that it said it was Bricks and Minifigs on that spreadsheet means that they flat out fucking lied. They had access to it through SharePoint the entire time. So there's just lies upon lies upon lies.
Brings us to today. Bricks and Minifigs
That
has
was
been
Excel.
completely
That was
destroyed
Microsoft
and is
Excel.
backtracking on a...
Yeah, you can tell it was, or sorry, no, sorry, that was. Wait, that may not be Microsoft. Is that Google's? Is that Google or Libra? I'm thinking that might be Google Sheets. Yeah, so sorry, not Microsoft, Google Sheets, but again, Google Sheets. The Google thing, the Google workspaces is even more cloud integrated because that's not even like the Google's workspaces is completely cloud integrated. So it's not it's not SharePoint because that's a Microsoft product. It's whatever Google's version of SharePoint is. So they absolutely had access to all of this. It's entirely cloud-based. It's entirely internet-based. There's no local copies. There's no local software. So it's all done through the cloud. So 100% they had access to it. Absolutely.
Bricks and Minifigs has been completely destroyed and is backtracking on a bunch of their legal threats against Ben. Here's America's attorney talking about it.
Because 2 days ago, Bricks and Minifigs marched into a Utah courtroom arm in arm with Ben Schneider, and they quietly surrendered the entire fight that they started with him. This is not a settlement. It's a fold, a collapse. Corporate's response wasn't to fix the problem. It was to go to war with the messenger. And on May 27th, they filed a civil RICO statute. Yes, the racketeering statute built to prosecute the mob, like Al Capone and Machine Gun Kelly, and all those really bad guys from a different era, naming Ben, his company, and the consignor's own family as defendants. A day later, they got a restraining order gagging Ben. Then 2 days ago, June 24th, both parties filed a joint stipulation, and every piece of it is a retreat by BAM. 1, they asked the court to dissolve the gag order and replace it with a stipulated injunction. They're throwing out their own emergency order. 2, they asked to cancel the June 30th hearing. That would be the contested hearing where a judge would finally rule on the record whether the gag that they requested and received was even legal to stay in place for the rest of the case. They pulled that.
Okay, so this is massive news, obviously. This means Ben is free to release part 3 of his video that everybody has been waiting for, and we will be covering it on this channel 100%.
And I will be covering it on my stream 100%. The day this thing drops, I will be covering it on stream. I promise you this. I will cover it the day it drops.
I find it funny that they are backtracking this hard after they were so sure that they were basically going to crush him in court and completely destroy him. I mean, they basically filed a fucking RICO case, which is absolutely insane for like a single person like Ben to deal with here. And a completely ridiculous thing to try and pin on.
Well, it's not simply like, oh, they don't want a jury trial because that would open the discovery. It's not even a jury trial. Any trial whatsoever. If this is going to go in front of a judge, it matters not if it's a bench trial or a jury trial. Any trial whatsoever opens them to discovery. Irregardless of bench or jury trial. Like, but at this point, I honestly think they're too stupid that they're going to try and push ahead because God only knows what reason they still think that they have a case. And maybe they're too dumb to realize just what can be pulled from them on discovery, like the level of incriminating data that can be pulled from their records that they'll have to hand over once Ben's lawyer files a motion for discovery. It's like that is going like I think that's a big part of what's happening with this court is they want discovery. They want to get all of those records because they know that they can easily demolish bricks and minifigs in court with what they're filing against Ben as is. But if they can get the discovery, then there's all sorts of data that they can get into their hot little hands and use that to build potentially multiple cases. Perhaps even that, like, honestly, it would not surprise me if there's enough data and information in discovery that a RICO case could potentially be levied against bricks and minifigs. Like, at this point, that's like, while they filed a RICO case against Ben, legitimately, I think there's a possibility that maybe Ben might seek to basically file a RICO case against bricks and minifigs. Because at this point, we are seeing corruption at the corporate level, and we're also seeing corruption at the local level in terms of the American Fork Police Department. So this, this could be big. This could be really big. I legit think we are watching the beginnings of Ben starting to take down a major, like, $400 million corporation. This could literally be a David and Goliath scenario where, the little guy takes down a massive corporation, which would be beautiful if he could pull that off.
Him after what he was genuinely trying to do, which was basically just help an old man get his Legos back. But we all know that they were genuinely just trying to crush him and basically take down any of his sources of income, prevent him.
Thank you for the gifted Cerberus. Thank you very much.
From even posting, trying to make any money, trying to take down his Patreon as well. But after seeing all this public backlash and the entire world turning on them with even the CoffeeZilla investigation just catching them in a bunch of lies, they're obviously changing their tune now, and it's just not looking good for them in general because the gag order was the only thing saving them from being exposed even further. Right, so he goes on to say about how it's a complete failure on their part.
And number 3, the new proposed order explicitly permits Ben to discuss the lawsuit, publish the court filings, and post commentary on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and podcasts. And I think he's even allowed to comment on this video. Everything they sued to stop, they just authorize in writing. The company that got a court to silence little Ben Schneider handed him back the megaphone on paper. And here's why that's a collapse and not a truce. Look at the calendar. The gag was May 28th. The total fold was June 24th. Under 4 weeks to go from, we're suing you for racketeering, to, hey, post whatever you want. Companies don't quit that fast when they're winning. They quit.
Especially not companies that made the threat of, we will basically just destroy you. We have more money than you, and we're going to force you to spend more money than what's worth of the Legos. Remember, that was Brandon's threat. I'm pretty sure it was either Brandon or Josh's threat to Brian Mansell when Brian was like, I want to get my father's Lego sets back. And they said, no. And he's like, oh, well, I'll sue you for him. And he's like, go ahead. The lawsuit, go ahead. You're gonna spend, we can easily, hold out in court, and you're gonna end up having to spend more money than those Lego sets are ever gonna be worth. We're gonna win. And now it's a complete reverse, because if they were actually confident, why would they not maintain? Why would they not spend the money on the lawyer to try and retain that gag order if they knew that they weren't going to get absolutely dumpstered and completely destroy their position legally in the court? And I think that may be why they did that retreat and collapse and said, okay, we'll give it up, because I think they knew if they actually fought it, if they actually tried to retain it in court, there might end up being some backlash on them from the courts of trying to facilitate, this gag order that was unconstitutional in the end. And it would look bad on them for furtherance of the cases, that they're trying to silence their opponents. They're trying to steal their opponents' First Amendment rights in order to keep them from exposing them. So it's like, no matter which way you look at it, Brits and Minifigs is fucked. They are just royally screwed, and I think they know it. And I imagine we are probably going to hear from Ben before too long saying that Bricks and Minifigs reached out to his attorney saying that they want to settle. And I hope to God Ben goes, I don't think so. We're taking this all the way.
When every day that the case stays alive costs them more than the case was ever worth. Those 4 weeks have been brutal. The GoFundMe for the family blew past $500,000. Patreon CEO went on camera and publicly refused their takedown demand. That Salem, Oregon store closed for good. And the CEO has been on a crazy interview tour where he has basically given the case away. The gag didn't bury the story. It became the story. It's classic Streisand. They turned a Lego dispute into a national referendum on corporate bullying.
Yeah, and this is exactly why this story kind of became the biggest on YouTube at the moment, because people in general are just sick of giant corporations abusing their power, being these scummy bullies, trying to silence, an independent person like Ben. And obviously the whole scandal with the police just completely blew this out of proportion. And I think most people are not just hoping to get the Legos back anymore. That's kind of like an afterthought at this point. It's more like people want to go after the corrupt police department and just uncover this deep corruption that is.
By the way, I love the photoshopping there. I love the photoshopping on the seal for the American Fork Police. It is, we steal from old people.
Going on. And obviously that was something that's already a controversial topic in the USA, just police in general and how they handle things and treat people, whether or not they abuse their power. And this was such an open and shut case captured on camera that both sides couldn't help but agree that this is just completely unacceptable. And yeah, they are running with their tail between the legs, as we'll see later as well. The case is just escalating more and more. So it turns out the agreement does have some restrictions for Ben, but it's only things that were already illegal in the first place.
BAM's people will spin this. They'll say, we didn't fold, we kept an injunction. Okay.
Of
you
course.
gotta read what they kept. The proposed order still bars Ben from making threats, doxing people, which is a jerk move, trespassing, impersonating anyone, and interfering with the stores. Every item is conduct, not speech. And every item was already illegal before this lawsuit existed. You can't threaten people. You can't trespass.
Not only that, Ben doesn't need to do any of that. All he needs to do is just drop his part 3 that Bricks and Minifigs was desperate to keep him from dropping, because I think that was a big part of the injunction. Is he said in his at the end of his part 2 is that he had a part 3 that was coming out, and the gag order, I think, was specifically by Bricks and Minifigs going, oh shit, what more does he have in this part 3 that is going to expose us to the world? And I think that is the primary means of them doing the gag orders. They did not want him to release that video footage to the public. They were desperate for that to stay locked in behind the Patreon paywall and not be released onto an open platform like YouTube, because they know that whatever he exposes in part 3 is going to make them look real fucking bad. Because remember, he prefaced it at the end of his video. He said, in part 3, it goes from a misdemeanor to a felony. Like they try to upgrade the charges against him from misdemeanor to felony. So that means that there's some serious shit going down there regarding Bricks and Minifigs, regarding the American Fork Police Department. And they did not let that see the light of day. And so now, now they're fucked because he's going to release it. Although I would expect, very bear in mind, I would expect that it's not going to drop immediately. I have a suspicion that Ben may be doing some editing to his part 3 to catch everyone up to date. So I think he may do some more filming and editing and add on to his part 3 Brooks and Minis video to include some of the more up-to-date information, like this court case. I fully expect that to be, you know, him to put something in on that video. So he's editing and posted on Patreon. Okay, and I figured that's what he's doing. I would expect that we probably will not see Ben's part 3 on YouTube. I don't think he's going to drop it on the 4th. He might. I mean, that would kind of fit his style if he drops it on the 4th. But I have a feeling that we may not see his completed part 3 video after his editing tweaks. I would expect that to drop next week. That's my suspicion, is probably mid to late next week, I suspect, is when we can expect his part 3 to drop. Maybe it might be sooner. He might be able to pull a game remove and drop it on the 4th, but my hunch is next week.
And notice what's not on the list. Not a single word about coverage. Nothing stops Reckless Ben from reporting, publishing the documents, naming names, or dropping the next video. They gave up the only thing they wanted, his silence, and kept the right to stop him from committing crimes he was hopefully never going to commit anyways. That's the salvage. That's what total victory looks like when you've actually lost. So what did Ben get? He got everything that counts. The gag order lifted in writing without a year-long courtroom war. And the kicker? Ben has said for weeks that part 3 of his investigation is already finished. It's edited, it's sitting on a hard drive, and the only thing keeping it offline was that pesky restraining order. Well, the order is on its way out. The corporation spent 4 weeks and a pile of legal fees to keep the video buried, and then they just signed
Rumble exclusive for part 3 of Media and Patreon. His part 3, as I understand it, is already on Patreon. It's been on Patreon for a little while, because usually what he does is he releases them on Patreon like a week before he does a YouTube video drop. So basically, his Patreon members can get like a early week exclusive look at it. And he's not going to drop it on Rumble. He's going to drop it on YouTube. But again, like I said, I think he may be doing some last-minute editing to get some more current, up-to-date information into it.
the paper that lets it go live. Remember, they hired Denton's. That law firm is not discount lawyering. So if you wanted one image for how badly this has backfired, that's it. One honest caveat, the case isn't fully dead. They're headed to mediation and the RICO claims are technically still on the docket. But make no mistake, a corporation that promised to crush this in court. Well, they just asked the court to let everyone go home and sort it out themselves.
Right, so this was basically a total W for Ben, L for Bricks and Minifigs, and about the illegal stuff that they didn't want him to do. Now, I understand why they put that in there. That is the one criticism I had for Ben as well.
Same.
I don't know if it was exactly illegal, but his
This was the and I verbalize this. This was the one criticism that I had for Ben as well, is the theatrics, the stunts. That was the one thing, especially like you guys didn't see it in his part one because I didn't react to his part one on stream because I'd already seen it and I didn't want to rehash it. His part one, he did kind of go overboard on the theatrics. And to a degree, he did that as well in part two. It does not take away from what Bricks and Minifigs did. It does not take away from what he has discovered through his investigation, unorthodox as it might be. But absolutely, like he definitely like slowed down on the theatrics in part two. It was like it was definitely like that he was doing a lot of it like for the content in part one. Part one, a lot of the stuff that he did was absolutely for the content. You guys remember when we watched part two, I was like screaming at the video, get a lawyer for this stuff. He was still doing some pretty stupid stuff in part two. He was. I've said it while we were reacting to it that some of the stuff that he was doing in part two was pretty stupid. It was worse than part one. Part one, they were just doing all of these like stupid like comedy teensy style like plans and shenanigans to do all of this. Like he toned it down for two. There was still some issues in two, but it wasn't as bad. It's that is my one criticism. That is with Reckless Ben for parts 1 and 2 is there was too much of a focus for the content versus getting the facts out there. But, you know, at the same time, like I know why he did is he is a YouTuber. He is, you know, he's not actually an investigative journalist. He's not Nick Shirley. He's not CoffeeZilla. He, you know, his content is for entertainment purposes and he needed it to be entertaining. That's why people tuned in. He took it seriously, but at the same time, for the content mentality was still first and foremost on his mind. And that's what basically moved it from being investigative journalism into content. It doesn't minimize what he has discovered. It's just the way he did it was, well, there's a reason why we were all screaming at the video for part 2.
Methods were pretty unique, you know, pretty unconventional, most people would agree. And there were definitely parts where he would have been better off just getting a lawyer. And now he's obviously doing that. I mean, he did represent himself for that one little thing. But yeah, going forward, like the best lawyers are reaching out to him to help him out. But yes, in part 1 and part 2 of the series, some of the stunts he did show on camera could have got him in trouble. The way it was portrayed in the initial video wasn't exactly accurate. Like, you can't really make people sign a contract they didn't read or do some of the stunts that he did. But nonetheless, I think overall people are obviously still on his side because I believe what he did was so minor compared to the massive injustice that is being done by these corporations. So hopefully he's able to argue that case in court and sort of counteract that and waive some of his liability there. People responded, the first good choice they've made. Now let's talk corrupt cops and judges.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I don't know if Ben is the one who's going to pursue the case. I think he has to because he was the one who's been wronged. I mean, they
Actually, either Ben or any of the people that he was with could pursue a case against American Fork Police. It's not just Ben. And yes, like every single one of them absolutely should be pursuing corruption cases. I said this back during the original video. There needs to be a federal investigation. There needs to be a DOJ investigation into the American Fork Police Department. Because since then, not even just a class action lawsuit, although yes, absolutely, they should file a class action lawsuit, but not just a civil case. There needs to be a criminal investigation into the American Fork Police Department. The DOJ needs to come down on that entire city and do a thorough and complete investigation. They need to drop the FBI on their heads like a fucking hammer because we have seen, since episode 2 came out, we have seen numerous kinds of instances showcasing the blatant corruption and misconduct of the American Fork Police Department. They are crooked from the inside fucking out. One of their own officers is, I believe, currently serving fucking time. One of their officers that we saw in the last video about the American Fork Police Department is actually serving time in prison for criminal conduct. So it's the entire police department needs to be thoroughly investigated and people need to get locked up and put in the fucking box. Because it is blatantly clear that the American Fork Police Department is just basically mob tactics at this point.
Located his shoulder or whatever. Even though the picture he showed wasn't his actual arm, I mean, that still did happen. And we all already saw all the bullshit that happened on camera. Well, they called the cops like 15 times, made up a bunch of false allegations like, oh, they have heroin on them or something, which is obviously completely false. They know it's false and they still kept harassing him. Now Ben needs to go after the corrupt cops. It's a massive undertaking to go after an entire police department.
That then should civilly. Absolutely, Ben should civilly go after the cops, go after the city itself, go after both. This is DOJ. The DOJ and the FBI need to open a criminal investigation against that town.
But, well, the internet's on his side, so one case at a time, though. We're gonna drag this out in court more than the collection is worth, and they did to their own dismay. Yeah, I mean, they were very smug when they were talking to Ben, even accusing him of stealing the Legos, which is the most fucking mental gymnastics bullshit I've ever heard in my life. They sacrificed at least half of their business for a mere 100K, so stupid. Oh, I mean, their goodwill has gone down completely. I don't think...
Well, not only the goodwill. From my understanding, I thought I heard something that more and more franchisees are starting to come forward and basically spill dirt about Bricks and Minifigs, the corporation. That there are some franchisees had basically just wiped their hands and said, we're out, and backed out and basically quit the company. Some of them are coming out, and I believe, I could be mistaken, I believe a couple of them have come out to basically talk about how Bricks and Minifigs has been a really shady-ass fucking company. Like, this entire house of cards is coming down, and it's amazing to see.
Anybody's gonna be buying any fucking Legos from their store. Bam has spent more than 10 times in legal fees and 100,000 more in bad publicity. Imagine spending all that money on a lawyer and the lawyer tells you the smartest move is to give up. Moving on to the absolutely juicy news, the case is going federal. So this is basically a massive escalation that is happening, and it means a lot of things for the Reckless Ben case. So here's Legal Mindset breaking it down in this video here, and he starts by talking about the notice of removal that Ben filed.
On June 26, Ben, that is Reckless Ben, and Victor Wynn filed a notice of removal in the U.S. District Court for Utah. That is the federal court. So essentially, that is the one that covers all of Utah. There's one district in Utah, so it's not like Florida where there's several districts, like a North or the South District. There's just one for Utah. So they filed it in that district and said, hey, we want to remove this to federal court. Now, BAM Bricks and Minifigs has 30 days to fight this motion. And while this is going on, there are also ongoing mediations. So the mediation is ongoing, that discussion is ongoing, and that has been ongoing since the state court RICO case was filed by Bricks and Minifigs Corporate against Reckless Ben. So they're allowed to keep talking. They're allowed to keep going through the motions of trying to settle this outside of court. And that's very, very important.
Right, okay, so this is basically further pressure on Bricks and Minifigs to settle outside of court with Ben and basically let this case go, which will finally render him free to pursue his own case against Bricks and Minifigs and the police department and maybe the corrupt judges as well. So now the situation is potentially going to the federal courts, and unfortunately for Bricks and Minifigs, I don't think they play differently there in the federal court. Unless somehow those judges are also under their belt, which is highly unlikely, obviously.
Considering how much they don't want this to happen, I'm guessing that that they don't have something to work the judges over with in federal court. If they did, then Bricks and Minifigs probably would have just been like, okay, sure, let's go to federal court. But because they're like trying to back off and like, okay, let's talk about this. My guess is they don't have any sway over the federal court like they do with the state court.
They seem to have their little cult going on there or whatever with the cops and basically everyone there. But yeah, it's going to be much harder to trick a federal judge. Now, as he pointed out that they do actually have 30 days to respond to this and maybe prevent it from going to federal court, but I don't really think they have a good argument. Now, obviously, I'm a layman. I don't really know shit about this, but that's my guess, that they probably are not going to have a successful chance at refuting this. So one thing he points out is that these are all people who hail from different places and different states, which makes it more of a case to be litigated on the federal level.
Victor Wynn is a resident of California. Brian Mansell, who agreed to this and consented to this, which is very, very important here, is a resident of Oregon. So there's diversity of citizenship between the plaintiffs and defendants. Diversity means they're not from the same place. They're not all from Utah. This is not a case where everybody is in Utah. They're all Utahians. Sorry, people from Utah. I probably said that wrong. But you see, that's the primary reason, and that's a very good reason to remove this to federal court. And there are several advantages that do come along with that. We'll read some other reasoning here. Plaintiff Baker Bricks, LLC, alleges in the complaint that it is a Utah corporation. A corporation shall be deemed to be a citizen of every state and foreign state by which it has been incorporated, and the state or foreign state which has principal place of business. Baker Bricks, LLC's principal place is Utah, and its certification of organization is filed in Utah. Plaintiffs allege that the verified complaint that Baker is a Utah limited liability company. Taking this as true, which we will assume that's true, I don't think they're going to fight that they're a Utah company.
Right, so basically, if a lot of the participants here are from different states, the argument can be made to put this over to the federal level. And this is something the internet has been advocating for quite a while now, to escalate the situation more and more, and to get the government involved if possible as well. I mean, I think it is a pretty big deal to have an entire police department this corrupt as well. So it is something that the government should be stepping in order to stop, because obviously police are a very important group, you know, responsible for protecting the civilians, and you kind of rely and trust the law and the law to be enforced properly. And once that system breaks down, then there's basically anarchy. That's basically, the people have no reason to trust the law anymore, and they're just going to do whatever, basically. And they have a reason to at that point. But yeah, we will be covering this later when the 30 days are up, and if they actually manage to fight this somehow. So then he talks about the advantages for Ben here, and there's actually a ton.
The actual plaintiff entity in this lawsuit is Baker, the Utah LLC, not the now dissolved Oregon entity whose trade name Baker is using. Salem Baker Bricks itself was administratively dissolved on January 15th before this lawsuit was filed. In addition, the members of Baker Bricks LLC appear to be Brandon Best and Josh Johnson, who are citizens of Utah, and as shown in the application for reinstatement they filed. So they're saying, hey, look, these guys, this corporation is really a Utah corporation, but we're going to try to get diversity here. And this is a massive advantage for Ben for multiple reasons. First of all, there's stronger First Amendment and anti-SLAPP protection. So First Amendment, free speech, that's going to be very strong at the federal level. And all those anti-SLAPP motions, that's a SLAPP motion is a strategic lawsuit against public participation. So anti-SLAPP is essentially protecting free speech, saying, hey, you can't try to silence Ben with a lawsuit. This can't be a strategic lawsuit to silence Ben. So Utah's anti-SLAPP laws will apply in federal court, and there'll also be very strong First Amendment protections there. There also will be a better shot at dismissing or weakening RICO cases. Now, federal judges are very familiar with RICO. They are well versed in their RICO claims. So going into federal court with judges that know RICO might give them a better shot of dismissing it, particularly as they argue, Ben argues, this is really a cobbled together case based on, bad facts, based on things that aren't true. So weakening and dismissing the RICO claims might be something that would be more advantageous.
And again, I would love it if they could get the RICO case against Ben dismissed and then fucking Uno reverse it and file a RICO claim against Bricks and Minifigs. Because let's be real here. What Bricks and Minifigs is doing and what they are suspected of doing fits RICO far better than they could ever hope to try and slap against Ben. So that would be amazing if Ben was able to just Uno reverse card them like this.
At the federal level.
Yeah, so this is something that a lot of people pointed out, the anti-SLAPP laws, right? And the protections of free speech being greater at a federal level. Basically, a more thorough review is going to be done as to whether Ben being silenced is violating free speech. And I feel like in general, they're more likely to side with Ben here over the corporation trying to silence his free speech. And especially when they find out that Bricks and Minifigs tried to get him to not talk about them, not even mention their company's name, and prevent him from continuing his investigation and post another video about them. I feel like that was completely unnecessary. Like, if you truly believe you're in the right, you shouldn't need to silence this guy at all. In fact, you should just beat him in court or whatever. But but it seems you're losing on both fronts, the public front and the court front. So it's just not looking good for Bricks and Minifigs. Also, I don't know if they actually get to look at like the Rico case or whatever and go, you know, who the fuck is gonna look at that and go, yeah, you know, this guy is, yeah, I mean, he's pretty comparable, you know, pretty much doing mob activity here, this giant threat to humanity, when he's literally obviously trying to get some fucking Legos back, right? And I guess expose some corruption
who's doing the
along
mob
way.
activity?
But yeah, in general, I think he's gonna have a better shot in federal court. So then he also talks about how the judges are less likely to be biased, and as we know, back in Bricks and Minifigs land, they make up 50 charges. They call the police repeatedly over and over, wasting their time completely. They falsely accuse you of having drugs on you, do false searches even though you stopped at a stop sign captured on camera, but no, you still need to be investigated, falsely accuse you of doing like bomb threats. They don't even serve the person when they know that they can serve them.
Well, not only that, but they didn't. Not only do they not serve the person when they know that they can lawfully serve the papers to him, they actively tell him, don't look, you do not want these, and actually prevent him from looking at the papers when he says, can I take a look at them? And the cop literally says, no, you don't want to do that, because if you do that, then I'll have to actually serve them to you. So they actually protected Josh here from receiving the papers, specifically with their actions, and by saying, no, don't look at them because then you'll actually be served. Yeah, can I take a peek? Oh no, that makes it complicated for us. I.e., he'd have to admit to having served them. So it's like beyond what Pegasus was just saying.
All this completely biased, disgusting, corrupt shit they did is not going to fly.
Also, it's perceived as a neutral forum. So federal courts are often perceived as more fair because of their procedures, because of the judges. It's not going to be somebody who's perceived as a local judge who might be beneficial to the local Utah business against the foreign Californians and other people from other states. It's going to be a perceived area where the procedure, the judges are used to people from other jurisdictions or used to people from other states, and therefore it's somewhere that is perceived as more fair. And generally, I would say federal courts are very, very fair when dealing with diversity cases.
Yep.
Also, in terms of strategic leverage and settlement and procedure, all of that is going to be more fair, and also the leverage, the visibility, the power that Ben has, that's going to be increased by moving it to federal court versus state court. So Ben is going to be in a better situation in that mediation, in the negotiations with Bricks and Minifigs, in order to come to a reasonable settlement with them.
Yeah, honestly, personally, I think that the number one priority for Ben should be to save himself and sort of get this case dismissed. Now, we all know that that is probably not Reckless Ben's priority. I mean, this guy would probably just go to jail in order to get the Legos back. He truly does not give a single shit about himself. He simply wants to help the family any way that he can. And
okay, let's be a little realistic here. Does he want to help Brian Mansell and his family? Yes. Yes, I truly do believe that Ben wants to help Brian Mansell and his family get these Legos back or get the money back that they are due. Absolutely, I do fully believe that. Is he also doing it for the content? Yeah, he is. He is absolutely doing it for the content. So it can be both. It can absolutely be both, that he wants to help Brian and his family because they approached him, but he absolutely does want the content as well. Yeah, but he would go to jail for the content? Maybe. Like, they did try and hit him up on the stalking charge. The stalking charges, I don't know if that would work. The stalking charges, I think it could be argued in court that what he did would not qualify for stalking. The trespass charges, depending upon what they are pointing out as far as trespass, that might work. But again, trespass is a misdemeanor. And the vast majority of trespass charges result in a fine. Suspended sentence and a fine for a trespass charge. I legit don't think that they can make the stalking charge stick, because those are the two things that they charge him with. Charge him with stalking, they charge him with trespass. Trespass, yeah, maybe it could stick. It's a misdemeanor. Suspended sentence and a fine, no big thing. Stalking, I think that a lawyer could easily argue that stalking doesn't apply and have that charge completely dropped. So it's as far as like the charges against Ben, they're nothing. The picketing, well, that was part of the trespass. I think that picketing charge, I think, was part of the trespass, and that picketing charge, by the way, absolutely could be ordered in court as a violation of First Amendment rights. So, like that picketing one, I think could also be basically kicked out in court. It's bottom line is what was happening with Ben. Like the charges against him are minor, excessively minor, small little misdemeanors. They're nothing burgers. What Bricks and Minifigs has done, what the American Fork Police Department have done, that's fucking huge. And in the end, it's, you know, again, I do think Ben is wanting to help Brian and his family, but I also do fully think that he is doing it for the content. It's why he did this in the first, like, let's be real here. Ben took on this quote unquote case from the very beginning for the content. He, you know, Brian approached him or he approached Brian, and he was like, you know what, this would be great fucking content for the channel. And he absolutely went into it, and then it may have morphed. It may have morphed into something far more, but without question, he is still thinking about the content that he can put out. Because in the end, he's still got to look after himself. When everything is all said and done, he's still going to have to look after himself. And that is the content. So
honestly, he just seems like that type of guy, you know, super reckless as the name suggests. He just seems like the type of guy to put himself in danger in order to help others. And, you know, it legitimately seems like a hero. I mean, maybe an anti-hero in some sort, some of the unconventional tactics that he uses, not always following the rules, but he is the people's champion here. And I think we'd rather have him safe and sound before, you know, taking down this company, because his work is very important and can expose more corrupt people in the future. So the number one priority would be to get this case dismissed, and then he can file another case to, you know, sue the police department. I feel like most people would appreciate having his investigation and his journalism on YouTube. So then he goes over his final judgment here.
In judgment, I think it's an excellent tactical move by Ben's team. I think this was very wise for them to do to try to move this to federal court. So big up on Ben's lawyers. I think they're doing an excellent job so far. And this is something that will change the game if they're able to get it into federal court. And it'll be perceived as more fair procedurally, and will also protect Ben's speech. I think his First Amendment rights will be best protected in federal court. I'm not saying that his First Amendment goes away in state court. That's not at all the case, but I do think that federal judges are very careful about the First Amendment. So they might be even
federal judges will be far more cautious when it comes to First Amendment issues than state, because First Amendment is far more prescient on a federal level than it is on a state level. Not to mention, we don't know how corrupt the state level is. We, like, at this point, we don't know how much is this, the state level courts, how much are they in the pocket of Bricks and Minifigs? We don't know. And on a federal level, that's very likely beyond their reach. And so he is more likely to get a fair hearing with a federal court, where a federal judge, even if the federal court is located in Utah, it's still federal. And the judge may look at everything with a much more critical and discerning eye.
Even more on Ben's side when it comes down to the rulings. And that's what I think a lot of people are looking at is, hey, how are we going to protect his freedom of speech and his ability to make videos and make content? Now, this is not a win for Ben. Ben doesn't automatically win because it goes to federal court. However, it does massively increase his leverage. And I think Bricks and Minifigs is now pushed even deeper into a position to settle. So Bricks and Minifigs keeps taking L's. They keep pushed back and back and back on their position. And I think Bricks and Minifigs didn't want to settle with Ben. I think that they wanted to kind of fight this out. But the more that he's fighting back with these procedural moves, like moving to federal court, the better position he's in. And I think they can come to a better settlement when they eventually get.
Yeah, so really good move by Ben here. Hopefully it does actually end up going to federal court, and, you know, they fuck around and find out I mean,
Yes.
I feel like they definitely need to be punished for all of the shady shit they're doing, especially their collaborations with the police department as well. People responded they play differently in federal court. Indeed, they do. Good.
Yep.
Get the case away from that corrupt judge. This is all insanely fascinating to watch play out. That's what.
But by the way, I should point out there's no evidence to substantiate that the judge in that district court is corrupt. I should make that clear. Like, we've seen evidence regarding bricks and minifigs. We've seen evidence regarding the American Fork Police Department. The only thing we have in regards to the Utah district judge, the state court judge, was that that they basically did a bail revocation, and it was like a bail approval, bail revocation, a warrant. Like, that's kind of it. The case itself has not appeared in front of the Utah State Court judge yet, and there's no current. People are basically going on the assumption that the judge is going to be corrupt because it's in Utah. People are going the route of, well, Utah is Mormon country. Mormons all watch each other's back. That whole line that I have said flat out that there is precisely zero evidence to substantiate whatsoever. And I will continue to say that there is absolutely zero evidence whatsoever to indicate that there's anything, quote unquote, Mormon in terms of the circling the wagons. Nothing there at all. But people are making this assumption based upon hearsay and upon rumor about the Mormon community. And again, the fact that Utah is basically central to the Mormon. People are making a lot of assumptions in regards to this, and going on the assumption that the judge will be corrupt because of its locale. There is no evidence whatsoever as of yet to substantiate this is the case. I must make that very fucking clear. We work off evidence here. And there is zero evidence to substantiate that the judge in this case is corrupt, that the judge is, like, quote unquote, affiliated with the church and therefore covered from. No, there's none of that. Okay, let's make this very clear. But you know, it's with what we are saying, people are making that assumption based on what we saw at Bricks and Minifigs, and based on what we're seeing with the American Fork Police Department. They are doing that jump, and that's why a lot of these comments are saying, "Oh, it's a corrupt judge. It's a corrupt judge. It's a corrupt judge." We don't know that, and unless I get some evidence to support that in front of my eyeballs, I'm not going to call the judge corrupt.
What I'm saying, dude, real life is legitimately the best entertainment you can ask for. Right here on the legendary series, Cinema. AFPD deserves the most extreme backlash that is legally acceptable. I won't be satisfied until there are criminal charges brought against the Utah Police Department and the C-level executives at BAM.
Absolutely.
This has to be some flavor of fraud or abuse of power. Instead of paying $200K, they could be paying millions or even being locked up. Makes no sense. They could have also done the investigation themselves, and like CoffeeZilla actually did the investigation, and he realized that it wasn't even $200K, it was like $100K, and then there was a portion that was allocated in different places. So they could have done their own investigation and calmly explained to Reckless Ben and these people as well that, hey, this is the situation, and then paid out the actual amount that it was.
It's still mind-boggling to me that this company kicked off all of this. For, depending on which direction you go, Brian Mansell and his family still maintain it's worth $200,000. Coffee's investigation seems to indicate it was roughly around 120,000. Regardless, it's still fucking mind-boggling whether it was 200,000 or 120,000 that they wouldn't just go, okay, we'll just make good on this to make this go away. And instead, they went this full route. Like, for so long, that is bringing us to this point. Like, this is just, I've seen many corporations before for bigger dollar amounts than this that immediately will just go, okay, we're going to sell almost immediately. If there's like a scandal like this and the dollar amount is in like the millions, that they will instantaneously just sit down with the aggrieved party and settle. It's honestly shocking the level of stupidity that we are seeing coming out of Bricks and Minifigs and the Pandora's box of corruption that they have opened by taking the actions that they have. It's insane.
Even if you thought they were exaggerating or they were being bad faith, which they weren't, obviously. Looks like Ben is entering the find out stage of fuck around and find out.
Yeah.
Apparently Ben isn't the only one who experiences blatant abuse of the police station. Yeah, I mean, he's
Yeah.
the only one whose story is going viral. If they did it to him, right? Can you imagine how many other people?
We've seen a couple of the stories. I've talked about a couple of the other stories regarding the American Fork Police. I've talked about, what, 2 or 3 other very clear instances of civil rights violations on behalf of the American Fork Police. Unfortunately, my voice isn't all that big, so my, commentary on them has not gone viral like what happened with Ben. But yeah, we have actually seen numerous instances of the American Fork Police Department facilitating misconduct and violating civil rights. It's an epidemic in this town, honestly.
They've abused. Anybody who got in the way of Bricks and Minifigs, or their little cult, obviously. It's ridiculous that First Amendment protections are more likely to happen in federal court as opposed to the lower ones. Protection should be the same across all courts. I don't know, there's probably some fucking stupid reason for that. Brick by brick, this company deserves every bit of the soul-crushing bankruptcy that is going to cause them.
Yes.
Can you imagine?
Well, they deserve jail.
They actually have to like shut their company down because of this? That would be crazy. That would be a crazy development. Right, so it turns out YouTuber Brandon Buckingham actually did an interview in like this documentary with Reckless Ben, and they talk about the situation here. The entire video is 1 hour long, so I'm obviously not going to cover the whole thing. So highly recommend you guys check it out for sure, but we'll check out a short segment here. Reckless Ben talks with Brandon Buckingham about how Legos acted as the medium for his all-time expose.
Footage later revealed that the police were actually aware that they had no legal grounds to stop him.
Looks like this is a real case. It just hasn't gone to court.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. It's kind of turned into a Mormon police corruption video. Like, a lot of the comments now, people are like, I don't even care about the Legos anymore. I just want to see the American Fork Police go down. I always thought Mormons were supposed to be nice, don't steal from people. How can these guys be Mormon? They're doing the exact opposite of what Mormons believe in. It's crazy. At the end of the day, like, this businessman stole a bunch of money. We had the proof he did it, and the police should have just listened to the proof, Oh, the police look at him. He's like, oh, a nice church-going businessman getting harassed by these kids that don't even belong here, and they just took their side. In Mormonism, you have to pay 10% of your income to the Mormon church. Yeah, 10%. So if they're making like $1 million, it's $100,000 a year. So they're donating a lot of money, and the police are gonna be like, they donate a lot of money, maybe we'll help them out, I don't know. I'm just speculating, but
it's a maddening thing. And I saw something online that was really cool I wanted to read to you. You've done so many videos in the past that have been wild, and somebody posted online, they said, the reason the Lego videos blew up when the others didn't is because instead of fighting cults, Ben's fighting the exact systems we're all fed up with.
Like, the whole thing was never really about Legos. It was kind of just about like legal loopholes and taking down a bad guy trying to bully a sick old man, And then Legos is just like the medium, I guess.
We have the unredacted version of that now, and we can see that the police were literally like scheming.
Yep.
We were just laughing at how absurd the situation was. Like, I mean, you can kind of see in the footage too. Like, we turned the camera away and we just crack up laughing. It was like, is this real life? Like how is this a thing? We're just like, this is so funny.
I mean, what did I say? The best entertainment is reality, right? The shit we see go on the internet is absolutely crazy. And every time a new story drops, we will be there for the people. But yeah, honestly, he did a great job with the interview and the whole video. So definitely check out Brandon Buckingham there. And yeah, definitely stay tuned for part 3. We will definitely be talking about it. That shit is going to be a complete bombshell. Hopefully it goes up soon.
Wait.
I mean, he's free to upload it now, so should be coming up. Right, going back into the Marvel Cinematic Universe of Hassan and Asmongold, the drama continues. So recap last time, Hassan was calling his one true love, Asmongold, psychosexually obsessed with him. Now he would love that, wouldn't he? So Asmon responded. Asmongold accuses Hassan of being psychosexually obsessed with him after he did the same.
Obsessed? I'm sorry, okay, don't read into this too much, but have we entered into the 2 retards fighting stage? I'm not calling either of them retards. I'm just saying, like, have we entered into the stage of 2 retards fighting? Like, this is what this feels like at this point.
Enough to understand what frequency he's on. Because this is schizo shit, right? This is what you would hear from.
It's not schizo. The thing is that he's trying to make it seem crazy that it's a coincidence that your behavior when you reached down to push one button on your soundboard was identical to your behavior when you reached down to allegedly push a button to shock Kaya. I think that's it's actually really simple. It's super simple. You're gaslighting and you're pretending to be stupid. You know what I'm saying. It's obvious what I'm saying.
Why do all your obs eventually turn into psychosexual stalkers? I'm dying. They have to bring up your body and sexuality every time.
That by the way, you notice he's doing the typical Hassan thing. You'll notice, like, this is Hassan's chat right here. I'm going to back this up slightly. I want you, when Hassan is talking, when it's his live feed, I want you to watch Hassan's chat. Because this is not just, like, displayed. Like, you can see the display of my chat in the top left, right? It's constantly flowing in one direction as you guys put out new text and chat. If I were to go into my OBS and scroll up and down, scrolling up and down in my OBS chat right now, it doesn't affect my chat on screen, right? Hassan's this is basically he's basically popped out his chat from a browser window and put that into OBS. So you will see his chat where it will be scrolling up, all of a sudden it'll scroll back down, then it'll scroll back up and it'll scroll back down. That's because Hassan is desperately scanning his chat. Why is he scanning his chat, may you ask? Because Hassan is so stupid, although he likes to pretend he's smart. The fact is Hassan is not smart enough to actually come up with the majority of his talking points on his own. So he is constantly going back and forth in his chat to find talking points that he can then parrot out and pretend they are his own. So just watch his chat when he's talking here.
Dang. Why do all your obs eventually turn into psychosexual stalkers? I'm dying. They have to bring up your body and sexuality every time. I think I know why.
Did you see it? You see him like do a quick scroll? He does that all the time on his streams. He scrolls back and forth in his chat, looking for someone in his chat that is smarter than he is, that can feed him his talking points. That is a pattern with Hassan. It's why I say that Hassan is not a smart individual. He purports himself to be an intelligent, educated individual. The reality is he's not. His education, his degree was very likely purchased by his wealthy family back when he was actually in college, because when he was in college, all he did was fuck around in a frat. That's all he did. So chances are his degree was purchased by his family, and while he managed to develop a substantive vocabulary, and he's using that to basically con people into thinking that he's smart and that he knows what he's talking about, when in reality, he's getting all of his talking points, all of his intelligent speech from his own chat. That is the pattern for him. He basically just bullshits, finds someone in his chat that actually makes an intelligent point, and then steals that and vomits it back up, pretending like it's his own. That's just how this man operates.
They have to bring up my body and sexuality all the time. Meanwhile, just a minute. Take a look at this.
Oh boy.
I saw this earlier today. This is him retweeting comments about people speculating on my sexual life today. He did this today. He's making comments about my body and my sexual life today. It's very weird.
Right, so let's check that out for a second. Asmongold says he's more interested in video games than sex. Girls are nice, sure, but I really like video games. That's my favorite thing to do. Somebody responds he acts like sex is an option for him. Asmongold is a 6'3" multimillionaire. I somehow doubt he's as repulsive to women as you think. Now this is insane cope. Hasanabi reposted really into the depths of this drama of Asmongold's sex life, obviously. Anyways, this is obviously all memes and jokes, right? But I'm pretty sure he does this on purpose to just like rage bait people. And it works every time. And I find it so weird that Hassan calls him psychosexually obsessed while literally doing this in his free time, fantasizing about his sex life. So then he points out how literally nobody gives a shit.
I don't think all of my ops are sexually obsessed with me, but they are probably
You're tweeting about me having sex today. It's not even like, oh, you did this last week. It happened today.
A lot of people who are just like upset, frustrated that they don't get, I guess, any female attention, and they assume I do.
Uh-huh.
I'm not saying I do, but I think they assume.
Jesus Christ. You're literally tweeting about this. Nobody
You see what I'm
cares
saying?
if you're hooking up with girls off stream. Nobody's thinking about this. Nobody gives a shit. I think people don't like the fact that you had a terrorist on your stream. I don't care what you do off your stream. Who gives a shit? So he literally goes and makes tweets about me today, commenting and making opinions. Asmongold is 6'3" multimillionaire. So people are mad, I guess, the fact that some other person said this about me, which, by the way, I've never said this. These are all people that are... How is it that there's more people commenting about my sex life than there are more people talking about my sex life than his? And I don't ever talk about this. It's weird. It's so weird. Everything.
Well, that's simple deflection. It's when they can't dispute Asmongold's talking points that he makes, because unlike Hassan, Asmongold is actually an intelligent person. People don't, and people hate the fact, this is a big sticking point, folks, is that they hate the fact that Asmongold is actually an intelligent person. He does have a good head on his shoulders. He does have a good read on things, and he is able to give very salient talking points that are operate in the boundaries of reality and facts. Hassan does not. And so because of that, they have to go after an intangible like Asmongold's sex life, because if we're going to speak realistically, between Asmongold and Hassan, colloquially speaking, Hassan would be considered more attractive than Asmongold. Colloquially. Now, me personally, like, I don't find either of them attractive. In fact, surprisingly enough, I don't find Hassan attractive at all. I think he looks very greasy and dirty. So I don't think Hassan is attractive at all. Asmongold, he's fucking Asmongold. He's the roach king. I don't find him attractive, but I absolutely respect, his intellect and the way he presents himself. But it's because the Hassan fans and orbiters can't refute what Asmongold says, they have to go after an intangible like his sex life. They can't insult his intelligence, so they'll try and go after his sex life, go, see, Hassan's better because he's more attractive and he can fuck more bitches than Asmongold can. And that's literally all this is. It's schoolyard bullshit in the end, honestly. It literally is just schoolyard bullshit. And by the way, Hassan is like becoming tutty, and that's why he's talking about going on experimental weight loss drugs. So that in and of itself is fucking hilarious, that all of the talk about him getting chunky and him getting tubby and that his suits are starting to look a little bit tight. So now he's saying that he's going to be going on this experimental weight loss drug as soon as it gets through trials and gets like FDA approval. And he's like on top of the list to be able to basically go on this drug. It's like, oh, really? Really? So you're getting a little bit self-conscious about this. Are we, Hassan?
Things projection with this dude. Yes. I'm never talking about this. This is me. Who is this?
I am terrified still of the time when I was I am terrified still of the time when I was a young boy and I was very fat, and I would always worry that my like ass sweat would be, repulsive to people.
For God's sake. For God's
Never
sake.
forget the ass sweat. Why would you admit this on stream, bro? Diabolical. Never in my life did I think that I'd have to mention Hassan Piker's ass sweat, bro. Get me out of here. But yeah, I just find it really interesting that he's always so obsessed where he like retweets all these opinions instead of actually saying them himself, because for some reason he thinks that if he retweets it, then he doesn't endorse it, actually. Like, even though it's your account, it's your main thing, everybody knows you're the one paying attention to it. He thinks he's being subtle. Like, oh yeah, I'm secretly doing this, but it's public, dude. Your retweets are public.
Get
And
it off
honestly,
his
I don't
face.
really
Ugh.
know what they want Asmund to do. Like, announce to the world anytime he has sex. Like, guys, wait a minute. I need to tweet out right now that I'm having sex. Like, what a fucking weird thing to even worry about. I think we all know the real reason, right? He wants to confirm that Asmongold is still interested in him. And like, after getting rejected.
It's the content twittier version of passing a note going, are you into me? Check yes or no. Do you want to go on a date? Yes or no? Check here. This is so fucking pathetic. This is so fucking stupid. The old George Streisand, check yes or no. Oh, Kelly Chester's. Oh, my Chester's. Oh, God. I can't keep laughing like this. I'm gonna kill myself. Oh, God. Dude. Oh, God, I'm crying. Oh, fuck. Okay. I gotta stop. I gotta stop. Okay, I gotta stop. Oh, God, we're right at the end. I gotta stop before I die.
By his lover after desperately like typing up in his chat and getting ignored. It's just time to move on, man. I mean, go suck on some terrorist dick. You do that all the time, don't you? I'm sure that's just as good. The prophecy is beginning to be fulfilled.
Oh, dear
And it's
God
just
in
like the
heaven.
Meat Canyon animation. One
Yes.
day it will come true, surely. But yeah, Hassan
Yes.
talking about people's sex life when he went to a brothel is just crazy to me. Now click this video. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.
Fucking hell. Oh yeah, this is it's getting so bad. It's getting so bad.
Burns bright, bright.